This is the old array modifier. It does a little array. Yeah, that's all it does. And this is the new array modifier we got with the Blender 5.0 update. It does a little array, a little circular array, and whatnot. Miles better than the older version we had. But if you look a little closer, this isn't a modifier at all. It's actually 3 underage children in a trench, geonodes. Seeing this got my toes curling out of excitement to see where Blender would go next. I imagined a Blender with its entire modifier stack plugged into geometry nodes. And when Blender 5.1 dropped,
Blender 5.1 has just been officially released, with most of the focus being on quality of life enhancements, stability, and polish.
seeing no new node modifiers, my toes stopped curling. Now, I could wait for the developers. I'm sure they'll get to it eventually. But I'm a little on the impatient side. So I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it myself. So, how many modifiers do we have to tackle? Who the fuck even uses these? 81 modifiers is a lot. So without wasting a second, I sat down to make the modifiers. Oh my god, man. That's so many fucking nodes. Wait, oh. Wait a minute. Chat. These are fucking hair nodes. We might actually be saved. Surprise, surprise, Blender was already onto us. So they decided to help us out by already making some of these modifiers into node-based systems. And after filtering a bit, out of the 81 modifiers, a huge chunk of them are hair nodes. Some are physics solvers, not modifiers. Nice try, buddy. I ain't falling for that one. Some are already present as modifiers, and some are outright impossible. So that leaves us with a nice round whole 20 modifiers to get to. Holy shit, this is gonna be easier than I thought. You know what? Just to make it a little more harder, let's do it in 5 days. I started by picking the modifiers which seemed easy to make. And you know, it's time for a fucking build montage. Now, if you're a sane person, you might be asking, but Radium, why? Why do it? Why go through all this effort to turn all these modifiers into node-based systems? Is it because you spent a year learning geometry nodes and it's proving less useful than you thought? Now you try to fit it into everything you do, even if it takes longer and marginally degrades the final result? First of all, get out of my head. Second of all, yes, but no. Because besides improving the modifiers, I, like most other artists, understand nodes. A modifier built in geonodes is like a car with a hood you can actually open, even if you're pretending to know where the battery is. It's the option of control that matters. And I was really serious about improving the modifiers at first. Like, for the build modifier, I added a factor slider instead of the timing system it had earlier, and I added a new mode to it. In the cast modifier, I added an option to include custom shapes that opened up a new way to shrink wrap objects. For the curve modifier, I'm gonna be honest here, only God and the developer who made this knows what the fuck this modifier is doing. Just fucking look at it. So I fixed it. Just look at it now. For the UV warp modifier, well, this was pretty much perfect to begin with. So I implemented it as it is. And for the wave modifier, I improved its timing system to be more intuitive, and I added a fall off selector that changes the shape of the wave. Today's day could not have gone any better. We covered 5 nodes and improved them substantially. This is going well. Many people ask me how I come up with such elaborate node trees. While my other projects require something called thinking, this project was different because it required maybe 6 straightforward steps to build a modifier. Step 1, pick a modifier. Step 2, go to this link. Step 3, find your modifier. Step 4, understand the code. Step 5, beat your schmeat. Step 6, convert code to node. Step 7, bask in the superiority of your modifier. And for the most part, this workflow went perfectly. Okay, alright. So I've been at this for like 3 fucking hours now. You would think the wireframe modifier is like a regular edging session, right? That's what I thought too. But when the meshes or the edges intersect, the code likes to use something called the B mesh function, which for the life of me, I cannot figure out how to replicate in geometry nodes. And my closest attempts look like fucking botched up prostate exams. So I'm gonna leave this modifier as it is. Safe to say day 2 was off to a bad start. So I quickly moved on to the next modifier before I crashed out because I spent a considerable amount of time trying to make it work. And the next modifier was a simple deform modifier. And let me tell you, it was anything but simple. This modifier is like 4 different modifiers wrapped into one. The deformation part was easy. Just look at this. Womp 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 womp. But look at this limit feature. It's fucking broken. Doesn't look like it's limiting anything. So I ended up making my own interpretation of what the limit feature should look like. At this point, it was kind of getting late. So to top my day off, I took on the hook modifier, which was supposed to be an easy implementation. Okay. So this is the hook modifier. And this is my fucking hook modifier. Can you tell a fucking difference? So the thing is, the hook modifier is working partially because geonodes cannot store anything permanently. It basically has a memory of a goldfish. It's stateless by design. So I can't store the position of the initial object where it gets hooked, and that results in such a difference. Day 2 wasn't perfect, but I was genuinely proud of the work I did on the simple deform modifier because that shit was nasty. So I call it quits for the day here. I started day 3 off by implementing the smooth modifier. To my understanding, the smooth modifier uses something called Laplacian smoothing, which basically smooths the shit out of things. So let's implement that shit, I guess. Okay, look at this smoothing now. It's working bloody perfectly. We're so fucking back. Next, I moved on to the UV project modifier. So the UV project thing was pretty easy to implement. The only issue I faced was when I was trying to implement this multiple projectors thing. In the original modifier, there's just a single button to do this. But if I try to do this in GeoNodes, I need to make this whole ass GeoNode setup for every projector I try to add, which I don't think I can do dynamically. And this just makes the Modifier inconvenient to use. So I made the executive decision to leave this implementation as a node. Next, I moved on to the displace modifier. This, just happens to be a single set position node. The modifier again has the advantage of being convenient, like you can just create the textures there itself. So I guess this is just another modifier which just becomes worse when I try to implement it. Day 3 wasn't going according to plan either, especially because it was marked by me getting fisted by UI faulting. And at this point I was getting kind of upset that I was unable to convert these modifiers into nodifiers, and that day I packed it up quickly because I didn't have much time. Last 2 days haven't been particularly great, I suppose. And I guess I have 10 nodes remaining. And today and tomorrow to go. So we gotta keep going, man. I started with the mirror modifier because it seemed easy and I was desperate for a dub at this point. This node was surprisingly easy. It's just a little scale inversion. And boom, it's mirrored. And then I moved on to the bevel modifier. And I genuinely wondered why such a fundamental feature such as bevel was never implemented in geometry nodes. And I genuinely thought I would be the first one to do it.
And Hans worked on it for a while too. There's currently about 9,000 lines of code.
What the fuck? Did he say 9,000 lines of C? Oh my. I ain't doing this if I had like 3 fucking lifetimes. Fuck this, I'm scrapping the video. Fuck this. The video's over. Close the shop. We're going home. Good night, man. I'm going to the bed. Fuck off. At this point, some could say I was genuinely in the thick of it. Because I could not go a minute without getting something wrong. Because everything I was making was getting cock blocked by teeny tiny things like 9,000 lines of C and fucking UI of all things, preventing me from implementing these nodifiers. And at this point, I was genuinely getting frustrated. But somehow I pushed through to take on the mask modifier, and I was kind of going insane at this point. What's the point of the mask is, the fact is, I've been failing all my classes. And for a change, the mask modifier was actually going pretty good until, because there's a fucking until. Okay, so I got the masking part down like I always do. I get the main feature down. And then I go to implement this teeny tiny side feature, which is so fucking important to the modifier. Without it, it just wouldn't function. And in our case, it's the smooth thing. You would guess there's a precedent for smooth, which is, it's Laplacian. Maybe it's just Laplacian averaging like it was before. But guess what? I checked the fucking code and it's the fucking B-mesh function again. Get the fuck out of here. I was this close to quitting the entire video, but I moved on to the next modifier because we were too fucking deep in this now. Someone should teach me about the sunk cost fallacy. Whatever, man. I guess I'll do the ocean modifier. Evidently, this was the modifier that made me make this video, because I had seen a pretty cool implementation of it in a game engine. But at this point, the delirium was too fucking high for anything remotely good to come out of this. Apparently, from the research I've done, this modifier isn't possible in geometry nodes. Because the operations needed to do this in geometry nodes aren't present. Whatever the fuck that means. But you know me. I'ma do my own thing. So here we go.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
So I ended up doing the same thing that I've been doing this whole entire video, compromising on my vision. I ended up implementing a lesser accurate wave simulating algorithm called the Gessner wave equation. And well, I'm gonna show you my all new ocean modifier, and I need you to be kind to him. The nodifier vision was being dismantled in front of my eyes, and with a few big nodes remaining and one day to get to them, I knew I had to go all out or I would risk scraping the video entirely. Today is the day I go all the fuck out. No hurdle is gonna stop me, and I'm gonna get all the remaining nodes, no matter the fucking cost.
And all out I did. I spent extra time on each node, making sure that I exhaust each and every possibility of implementing the thing.
I started with the screw modifier, which I thought was just a spiral curve, but turns out it was way more complicated and involved extruding and repeat zone, but I got it done after spending about 3.5 hours on it.
After all that, I went to the Solidify modifier, which
So the Solidify modifier was quite easy. It was just a little extrude action. But the even thickness thing, that was a bunch of math. Just look at that. Look at that. Holy shit.
then I moved on to the warp modifier, which to no one's surprise was even more fucking math.
When the math got hard, that's when I bought the gun. But I got this one done. Similar to the UV warp modifier. And then I moved on to the Laplacian modifier. Day 5 to this point was going incredible. But things were about to quickly change. It's similar to the smooth modifier, but a little more advanced, I guess. So let's test out a modifier on this model. After that mishap, I moved on to the last modifier on the list, the Decimate modifier, and from the initial research I had done, this was gonna be my magnum opus because it seemed the most technically challenging of them all. Okay, so I found out this modifier runs something called Quem. So let's implement that in nodes.
And turns out this time around, my implementation was perfect. The maths was just right, and the modifier should just work perfectly.
And would you look at that? This had 100 vertices, this had 100 vertices, let's decimate this, let's decimate this. They look the exact same, and their vertex counts are similar too. Now let's do a bigger model. So this has 1,000 vertices. Let's crank up the ratio. I set out to change the modifier system that comes in Blender by default with something I didn't fully understand. And while I inevitably failed, I did learn the intricacies and the nooks and the crannies of a system that is so much simpler than actually coding, yet it manages to print out such insanely beautiful things. And frankly, the more I failed as the video went along, the more I realized the beauty of this tool. And at this point, I don't know what would have been better. Changing the entire modifier system for the better, or gaining the appreciation for the architecture of this incredible tool.
Is this cope? This has to be some kind of comb. Anyways, stay curious, stay ethical, and once in a while, inspect the fucking test.